Wolfpack Nation? Welcome to another episode here. I'll tell you though, this has definitely been one that I can say for well over a year that I have been dying to get started. And you may say, well, this young lady right here, you've been waiting to talk to her for over a year? No, I'm going to call Coach Harold, our cheerleading coach, right out and say, Coach Harold, we've been trying forever to have you on here to talk about NC State cheerleading, because I could definitely say, besides like the equipment staff for our teams, the training staff, the field crews, all the people behind the scenes stuff, that the cheerleading staff is right up there with the people that don't get talked about enough, but should be talked about a lot more. Simple as that. And so we have here with us kind of a 2-for-1 here. We have Camille here. And again, Camille, I know I asked you right before here, but clarify again. I don't want to say it wrong. I really don't want to say it wrong.
You're good. It's Weiss.
Camille Weiss.
Yes.
Got it. Camille Weiss. I know. I was like, I'm 95%. I just really don't want to be on here while we're recording and say it wrong. So Camille Weiss. Got it. So yeah, Camille. So Camille is one of our NC State cheerleaders here. And also too, on top of that too, she and us actually have a lot in common, that we both actually also have a YouTube channel where Camille does a lot of vlogs for game days, kind of a lot of behind the scenes stuff, which are really, really cool, which we'll definitely make sure to give Camille an opportunity to kind of, let Wolfpack Nation know, all of our followers know how to find that and check that stuff out here. But really today we wanted to kind of accomplish a couple things. First of all, we wanted to kind of learn a little bit about you, Camille, in terms of, what got you into state cheerleading, kind of learn a little bit, about your background, what brought you to state in general, where you're looking to go, things like that. Learn a little bit about, what made you want to start a YouTube channel. And then lastly, and the biggest thing, which, for me and Michael, I know, is just get to know what the heck, how does it work being a part of the in-state cheerleading crew. So Camille, give us a little bit of background in terms of, what year are you in NC State? What are you studying? Where are you from? All that jazz.
Okay. So I'm Camille, and I am a junior, well, sort of a junior/senior in school, because I'm graduating next December. So I guess I'm like a half and half junior senior. I'm studying public relations in the communications department. And I'm from Gastonia, North Carolina, which is like kind of a small town, like 30-ish minutes right outside of Charlotte.
Okay. Did you grow up an NC State fan?
I've always loved NC State. My family's not really like a big college/sports like fan. So obviously I knew of NC State because I'm only 2.5 hours away. I knew UNC, but I'd never really like been a fan, I guess, until I started going to like the cheerleading things, and I started looking at the cheerleaders and being like, wow, maybe I could be a fan of that.
So yeah, so this might be kind of a great time to kind of do kind of a 2-for-1, kind of learn a little bit about you, but learn a little bit in terms of how cheerleading works per se, especially too for NC State cheerleading program that for the last few years, for a while now, NC State cheerleading has definitely been one of the premier crews in the whole country. Consistently competing for national championships, winning national championships. So, I know that, any Joe Schmo can't, necessarily just come and be a part of the cheerleading crew. So, for you, and then in general, like, how does it generally work in terms of, if you're a high school cheerleader and you're looking to compete on a college cheerleading squad, what's the typical process like? Is it a tryout? Do you get recruited at all by a coach like Coach Harold? How does that predominantly work?
So that's a good question. I get that all the time from a ton of younger girls. So basically for NC State, it's a little bit different, and it kind of depends on your skills and where you're from, but they do have a recruiting process, and we have our own recruiter for the team, and you can either email her, or she reaches out to you, or your coaches from your cheerleading team can reach out to the recruiter. And then if you do end up getting recruited, you get to come and you get like a tour of the school. You get to go to a football game, and you get to be on the field and meet all of us. Or you could go to an open practice and even practice with us, depending on if you're a senior or like a transfer student. So you can get recruited like that. Or if you don't end up getting recruited because you're a little bit too late, or you just haven't fully decided yet, you can try out with us. And I tried out the COVID year, or the year right before it. So No, I tried out the year right before the COVID year. So we had in-person
Okay.
tryouts, but we had to send in videos first. And you kind of get judged off your videos, and then you have like a small tryout, and you basically try out with the team because each year we have to retry out. And but
Each year.
yeah, each year. So our spot's like never
Wow.
actually there.
Yeah.
Like we always, just to be fair, we have to keep trying out. Um,
Wow.
but yeah, I know. But for the COVID years, people just had to send in videos, and then they kind of got judged off of that. But I know for this year, it's a little different. Obviously, you still send in videos just to see if you qualify, and that's like the first cuts. And then if you make it to the second round of tryouts, then you get to go to what we call like open practice / tryout, and it's where um, the people that are wanting to try out get to come in and they get to practice with us, and the coaches get to see kind of like how they get along with the other people on the team and how their attitudes kind of like reflect them, and they get to see like, their skills and how they work with other athletes on the team.
Wow. Okay, great. Yeah, because I mean, I'm assuming that a lot of it too has to be involved with not only just how good you are, but how well you kind of gel with the team per se. Because I mean, obviously, there's a lot of team chemistry, teamwork that has to go into it as well. So I mean, but definitely, I got to ask about the trying out each year because that's definitely. I mean, is that common? Is that pretty common? The only place I've ever seen something like that is like the Dallas Cowboys cheerleading, TV show that my wife maybe makes me watch sometimes when it comes on when we're at the beach. But I mean, like, is that pretty common with most college cheerleading programs?
I feel like it is kind of in a way. We actually
Mm-hmm.
have sort of 2 tryouts a year because we do like our normal tryouts to be on the team, and then we
Mm-hmm.
do our tryouts to see like who makes mat for when we compete in April. But for first cut tryouts, like when everyone tries out together, um I don't know, I feel like that is kind of common just because things change, people lose or they gain skills, or cheerleading is always changing and they're wanting more things and different types of things. So it really just depends. But most of the people that do like are already on the team make it again, just depending on like how they did last season with their attitudes and like if they kept their skill level up and things like that.
Yeah.
So, how many people are trying out for that first cut, and then how many eventually end up making the team?
So, the amount of people that we usually have on our team is around like 60, and last tryout we had around like 150 people try out, so it was pretty big.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a little less than half.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. And it's obviously an interesting thing, because obviously it's kind of always puts you on your heels a little bit. But I mean, it's a good thing too, because I mean, it just shows that obviously the bar that Coach Harold and the staff have for this crew is always, supremely high. That e- obviously, you're always holding each person, even the seniors, accountable. That they obviously during the off season need to, continue training, continue to develop, your skills and your craft. So I mean, it's a good thing to hear, and I mean, obviously shows again. I mean, there's no doubt that you're not going to compete for national championships every single year
Mm-hmm.
and not have that level of accountability. That you're not only holding the freshmen and the underclassmen too, but you're holding the seniors even too as well. So it's and I mean, and you don't have to necessarily give names either. And if anybody who's watching or listening to this falls into this category, I do apologize. But I mean, have you seen any like upperclassmen, seniors get cut? Like, is that a common thing? I mean, does it happen?
Yeah. I'm not
Okay.
gonna say names, but last year,
Yeah, no, I did no names.
yeah,
Hmm.
last year we did have a lot of people that got cut or just didn't make it through, that were on the team, and this was kind of one of like the first years that happened in at least my time, but it was because we decided to compete different divisions, and our coaches just kind of wanted to change the program up a little bit and create something bigger. So they kind of just let go of the people that, in their opinion, didn't they just didn't want them on the team for some reason. I'm not sure why.
Right.
So yeah, it was a big surprise for a lot of people, but I mean, in a way, I'm not glad for those people to be gone because I love them. They're still like a part of my family, but in a way, I'm glad that they do that because they really do care about the team, and if someone's detrimental to the team, they're not going to stand for it no matter what skills, what position they are. Like, if they're detrimental to other teammates, then they're not going to be on the team.
Before we continue, I want to take a quick second to tell you about our sponsor, Flatlands Jessup Insurance Group, that has your whole world covered, with agents in 5 offices throughout eastern North Carolina to help you decide how much coverage you need, offering policies for home and auto, recreational vehicles, commercial, crop, health, life, and employee benefits. They are able to combine options to find a comprehensive solution that works for you. Flatlands Jessup protects the things you love so you can spend less time worrying and more time enjoying them. Find them on Facebook and Instagram at Flatlands Jessup. You can also visit their webpage at www.flatlandsjessup.com. So please make sure to go and check them out. Yeah, I kind of understand kind of that way of thinking a little bit. I actually kind of experienced a little bit of myself. It's kind of funny, when I was in high school, my freshman through my junior year, I was in my high school's drumline, but then my senior year, I decided to play football because I knew I was going to be equipment manager when I came to state. And the last thing I wanted was to, come to state, be a football manager and regret never playing the game, being around it so much. So I actually tried out and made it. But the problem was that I was second string. Our starting defensive end, which is what I played, defensive end, got hurt. So they brought up this JV defensive end who was pretty good. And basically I was, busting my butt trying to become the starter. But yet I wasn't, the guy who was the JV guy was getting all the reps. And I actually went to my coach's office and was like, Coach, like, why aren't I getting any playing time? And he said, well, just the problem is that he's almost as good, if not probably as good as you are. And so the problem is that if I have a sophomore who's maybe just a little bit not quite as good or as good as you, and you're a senior, then I'd rather go ahead and invest in the younger person because, I feel that I can build a lot more for the future because you're going to be leaving next year, and so I kind of understand maybe that's kind of a little bit of the mindset of that is, let's go ahead and start building, with somebody that we feel can take this program to another level. So again, again, it just goes back to, I love to hear, that it's not just, it's a high bar, we're trying to compete for national championships here. So how does it work in terms of, because obviously with cheerleading there's so many different facets to it in terms of the competition side, like the stuff that you see when you guys compete for the national championship in Florida. Am I correct on that? Isn't the national championship? Okay, yeah. So you see all that stuff, the routines, but then obviously you have the stuff you guys do for football games and basketball games, etc. How much would you say that, like, if there was a priority in terms of or Coach Harold or maybe cheerleading in general, let me know. But like, how much is it that I'm going to look at how you compete versus how you do on the field? Like, if you had to give me like in terms of a priority, like 80-20, something like that, like how important would you say both of those facets are in terms of, how valuable that makes you for the crew?
Ooh, honestly, I think I would have to say 50-50 because
Really?
Yeah, because I mean, it's a two-part thing. Like, you can't decide if you want to cheer just games and not compete or just compete and not cheer games. Like, once you get onto the team and once you're on the team, you have to do both. And you have to do your best at both because that's kind of our job, like to cheer on the Wolfpack. And then after that, it's our job to cheer on for our own self. So it's like, I guess 50-50.
Yeah. And because remind me too, is there any kind of like a championship crowned for what you do on the game field? Like, is there any kind of award that's given for that?
No, there's not. That'd be kind of cool though. But no.
That would be cool. Yeah. Well, because it doesn't, because I know the mascots, Mr. and Miss Wolf, they have like, there's a mascot of the year or whatever it is every single year, which is, I'm like, how do you really judge that? That's a little bit of I think a little bit biased there, but hey, to each his own. We'll take it. Whenever Mr. and Miss Wolf is number one, then we know that it's right. But if it's not, then we're like, no, they don't know what they're talking about. So, yeah.
So along those lines about cheering on the field, and obviously, as you said, there's 60 people on the team, but there's never 60 people on the field usually. How does that rotation work of who gets to go to games and such?
So actually, it may not look like it, but there is about 60 of us on the field, and what we do is we split up half of our team. So 30 will go on to the student
Okay.
section side, and then 30 will go on to the under the field goal side, and then at halftime we'll switch. So they just kind of split us up between stunt groups, and just they kind of do it randomly, kind of who stunts good together. And then for basketball games, though, it's a little different. So basketball kind of goes into our start of the competition season, which we're in right now. Obviously, we compete in early April, but we have to go ahead and figure out what teams we're doing and go ahead and get our routines. So we split our teams, I think, a month and a half ago. So we have two teams. We have a small co-ed team and then a large co-ed team. So you kind of have to try out for both of those, which is like the second tryout process, like to get on mat. So for basketball, we do large co-ed. We'll do like a women's game a week, and then small co-ed will do the men's game of the week, and it just kind of depends. We switch off.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Well, and you know, is there any kind of upperclassmen kind of dibs in terms of, you know, like does Coach Harold, you know, ever let you know, kind of the upperclassmen decide like which side you want first or what games you want to cheer in first or anything like that? Does that work? Is that a part of the cheerleading put together at all?
Sometimes it honestly depends. I'm one of the captains, and we have 4 other captains, I believe, and he kind of comes to us just to help with those decisions. Sometimes it depends. Like when we're doing the ACC for basketball, he'll kind of ask the captains like, "Which one do you guys prefer?" or things like that. But he usually makes most of the decisions.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah, and I mean, it's you know, it's obviously, you know, pretty cool stuff. I mean, watching what y'all do. And is there, because I know, like, I've seen you guys even too. Like, one of the things which I love is that even at like wrestling events, you're starting to see like the pep band and even cheerleading there for wrestling, or even like gymnastics, things like that. So, I mean, is there a you know, how are those decisions made in terms of like, you know, does Coach Harold basically just say, I mean, like, or does Coach Harold make the decision on which events that they're going to go to, or is that kind of a Boo Corrigan thing, or like, hey, you know, we need the cheerleading staff at these events? Like, how does that work? Do you know?
So big games for like gymnastics, volleyball, wrestling, like when we go against UNC or like really big rival teams like that, they usually ask for the cheerleaders. So they tell Harold, and then Harold will put in our, like, ask us all or put it in the group chat and say, if anyone's available at this time, could you volunteer for this game? And we have appearance credits. So if you get, I believe it's 6 appearance credits, you get different things at the end of the year. So you get like the Letterman jacket for your first year, and you get like next year, I think you get like a duffel bag or something. So that's just like a thank you for doing more things than like you have to do. But most of the people do end up signing up and getting appearance credits because those games are fun. Like I love going to wrestling and gymnastics things. They're so fun.
Oh, really? That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, well, I'm sure, especially for cheerleaders, you know, probably watching the gymnastics. I mean, because that's, you know, that's right in the wheelhouse. Not to saying that is the same, obviously, at all, but that's in the wheelhouse. So, yeah. And you know, how does it work in terms of, are there any scholarships given out to cheerleaders?
Yes. We don't have, not everyone gets a scholarship, and it's kind of a process they have to go through. You have to be on the team and then stay on the team, and then they kind of say stuff to us about scholarships mid-season. And if you do end up wanting to get a scholarship, then you write a couple essays and you just answer questions on like why you believe you should get this scholarship and what you're going to use it for, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how many people got a scholarship this year, but I think last year we had 5 or 6 scholarship people.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. That's wow, 5 or 6 total, or 5 or 6 new ones?
Total.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jeez. That's pretty cutthroat. Well, but I mean, I think again that just goes back to that again. I mean, the unsung heroes thing, because it's not like you're 95% of you aren't even getting any money necessarily for doing it. You're just doing it for the love of it, which is awesome.
Exactly.
So with that being said, so part 2, I want to talk a little bit more in terms about your weekly schedule, and then start to kind of dive into your vlogging side. So make sure, Wolfpack Nation, to tune in for part 2. Again, we'll continue this conversation with Camille, and again, definitely make sure to continue to support and love and appreciate all of our again, people behind the scenes that don't get enough credit. Again, I already mentioned the equipment staff, the field crew, the trainers, but especially the cheerleaders that give so much time and are there supporting and cheering for these teams, whether they're 0-20 or 20-0. So Camille, if you don't mind, I know that again you have an awesome YouTube channel, which definitely, if you're listening or watching this, make sure to check it out. Where can they check out your stuff, Camille?
Well, they can go to my Instagram, and that's at ca.camel, like the animal, CAMEL. And you can click the link in my bio to access my YouTube channel, my vlogs, my podcasts, just all of my stuff if you want to look it up.
Awesome. Perfect. Awesome. Well, and definitely for both of us, for us here at Tuffy Talk, and also too for Camille's YouTube page, make sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, so you're notified on all your devices whenever any new NC State content is released. Again, with Camille, you got a ton of behind the scenes stuff for game days that you'll see with the cheerleading stuff, and also too for us as well. I mean, we got all of our watch parties coming up here, which we're already making plans for. We have our Tuffy Talk live shows every Monday night, 8 p.m., and obviously all of our episodes as well, which again, you will not want to miss on. To make sure to do that, hit that notification bell, hit that subscribe button. And if you enjoyed this episode, make sure again to hit that like button and give us a follow. Tuffy Talk now on Twitter and Instagram. We'll see y'all for part 2. And as always, go back, baby.